Check 1, check 2. Alabasters. Check 1. What's the problem? Oh, my mic is working now. Hey. All right, good. Good. Hello. Hello. All right. Yep. Okay, my mic is working. Start. Now you need to do some jabbering. Nothing yet. Keep rolling.
Stop, boop, beep, beep.
Yep, I got you now. Alright, we should both be live now. We should have our audio rolling. The rolling audio.
Okay.
Alright, now I have to do something. Because for some reason, my handy dandy little tool isn't pulled up. Which means I'm probably going to have to disconnect my camera for a second. Which means the stream might go crazy. But I'm going to try it anyway. Yes. Okay. We're holding on so far. Good. But didn't do anything. Probably because my webcam source on Discord is wrong. That would be my guess. Let me see. That means I gotta do this, which means it's gonna get weird for a minute. Let me just go ahead and do this.
Woo. Oh my god, it's getting weird.
There we go. We'll put on that little screen over there.
Like we're in a house in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I feel
stranded.
Like this. Okay, I am using the broadcast. That's what I wanted. Okay. I'm coming back.
The huge maze that we're navigating right now.
Ah, this is my problem. There we go. Hey. Now, should I replace my background?
I feel like someone's watching me from behind, though.
Hey, someone's peeking into your life. And it's me! Wahaha. Yeah, I'll just do this. And I'll put you here. And then I'll give her one of these. Hey, there we go.
Nice.
Yeah, you got the inside, I got the outside. So we're good.
Excellent.
Okay. So on the docket tonight, we've got The Shining, followed by CinemaMen. CinemaMen.
CinemaMen.
CinemaMen. See an enemy.
CinemaMen.
See an anemone.
I see an anemone.
All right. Let me see. I have my notes pulled up. I think for the intro, I'm just going to do something stupid and improvise, and we'll just get through it.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are you saying that you don't ever improvise these intros?
Oh, no. I script every one of them out meticulously. I thought everybody knew that.
I am shocked.
I mean, can't you tell from their high quality and the production value that they are extremely prepared in advance?
Yep.
Yes, of course you can. Of course you can. I guess I need to square up. It's not very comfy, but my camera's over here, and my main monitor's over here, and I probably should just do something like this, huh?
There you go. Swap your camera over.
Maybe this is a little bit better, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, except for my earphones. Oh, look at there. A little bit of reality bleeding in there. Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Whoa, if I pinch
Mine does
just
that.
right. Whoa.
Pinch it. Pinch just right.
Welcome to the CinemaMen podcast, everybody, where your donations will go to purchase both John and I legitimate green screens, so that when I do this, you don't see the room behind me. Look at that! Oh, magical! High production value only on the CinemaMen podcast.
You know what's funny about that is
so
that
seamless. Look at my hands.
we're,
Look at that.
we're using the
amazing.
latest. We're using the latest in technology with the NVIDIA broadcast, and we're gonna go backwards and use green screen.
Oh, this is not good. I can't. It's too distracting. I'm going to go back to this.
Oh, suit yourself.
I feel like it is the way.
This is the way forward. You're going backwards.
I mean, I'll go forwards whenever I can have a legitimate green screen set up behind me instead of whatever the heck that weird screen tearing business was.
Think of all the data they're capturing from me. Every second they're getting feedback about how they should improve this technology.
Indeed, you do. That's what happens when John Murphy uses your products. All right, so let me double check Audacity, make sure I am still recording, and good news, I am. We are still live, so that's also good news. And I think, unless there's anything you need to discuss or set up prior, that we're good to go. What do you think?
Just playing with my camera here. You get the peer pressure on me. I'm switching it.
Okay. Look, now I can do this.
Yeah, we do that a lot on the podcast.
All the time. Constant hand wavings.
A lot of hand movement. We know people will get the gist. Okay.
And it looks like my room is a long hallway. Look at that. Weird. Oh well. All right.
I mention it's 83 degrees in here?
Yes, my apologies to you, sir. That's one, extremely frustrating because you are in a newly built home that should have a really great AC system, and two, really sucks just because it's hot.
Mm-hmm. At least one unit works. So if I need a reprieve, I can go downstairs.
The old reprieve. All right.
Right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's sync up.
1, 2, 3.
Boop. Look at that. Totally synced. In sync. The band right here. Live on the CinemaMen podcast. Except all the numbers are gone, have been replaced with two middle-aged men who like to talk about movies.
What's a song NSYNC does? I get them and the Backstreet Boys mixed
You
up.
know, that one that was real popular?
Yeah.
That one?
In the 90s
Yes.
or 2000s.
The one I'm talking about was in the 90s.
Okay.
But there was another one in the 2000s that was pretty good too.
And there were boys in that band, right?
A few.
Yeah.
Although some might say they were men.
Not very many.
Depends on who you ask. All right. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah. Are you gonna surprise me with this intro?
Yeah, sure. How about that? You want me to do that?
What?
Surprise you.
Surprise me?
Or do you want me to not?
No, you don't have to tell me what you're gonna do, as long as I don't have any contribution that I need to be aware of.
It's gonna be stupid.
All right, let's do this then.
Sure.
Welcome
All right,
to the
wait. Are you
CinemaMen.
sure you want me to surprise you? Because I don't want to be.
If I don't have any part to play, then
Okay.
I don't care if you tell me or not. I just don't want you to be like, and John, and then I'm like, oop.
All right. All right, I'm ready.
Okay. Welcome to the CinemaMen podcast. I'm your host, John Murphy, and I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Hurdle.
Matt is not here, Mr. Murphy.
Matt? Where's Matt? Can I talk to Matt?
Matt went away, Mr. Murphy. Wait. Oh. He just went to get some water, Mr. Murphy. I think he's coming back.
Oh, hey!
Oh. You know what they say, all work and no water makes Matt a parched boy.
I was very thirsty, yes. And hydration's important. So, I have my water, and I have my microphone, and I have my notes. And I have
Don't tease me with water.
Terribly inept talent at podcasting.
Hey, we share the same talent.
Hey! So what's on tonight's episode, John?
You know, I'm going to tell you. On tonight's episode, we're going to review the 1980 horror film The Shining, starring Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall, directed by Stanley Kubrick. This is episode number Trace, or number 3 of A King's Journey, a series in which we review Stephen King book adaptations in the order that they were made.
Movie adaptations.
Movie adaptation. Yep.
We are not a book podcast.
So, yeah, I had a question about that. Is it a book adaptation or is it a movie adaptation? What's
I've
the
always
correct
considered
term?
them movie adaptations. The movie is an adaptation of the book.
Oh, I was thinking the book adaptation was the movie. But
I've never seen that movie adaptation, but I'm sure it's good. It sounds like it would have Jodie Foster in it.
Well, previously on these movie adaptations, we reviewed Carrie and Salem's Lot.
On the King's Journey. Yes.
Yeah, check those out. Those other episodes. This is a spoiler podcast. So if you've never seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, pause this episode, go watch the movie, and then come back. Stay tuned until the end of the episode where we reveal what our next movie will be so you can follow along with us. If you want to get in touch with us or give your take on a movie we have reviewed, feel free to email us at feedback@cinemamenpodcast.com or check us out on Twitter at twitter.com/cinemamenpod. If you'd like to throw some money our way and have the means to do so, you can go to anchor.fm/cinemamenpodcast/support. We use that money to improve the quality of the podcast and buy green screens. So in advance, thank you very much.
We will use the money to buy green screens. As of now,
We can't.
we open our wallets and moths fly out. It's
What
not
you
pretty.
get back
It's not
here.
good. All we can afford is a blurry background.
Hey,
Hey!
if you like video instead of
I
audio,
do.
we offer that too. You can go to YouTube and search for the CinemaMen podcast. We record live every other Tuesday at 8:30 Central Time. Subscribe to our channel because that will be much easier than figuring out when every other Tuesday is.
That's right. You'll get notifications when we go live and when we upload new video episodes of the podcast.
Exactly. And hey,
One note. Our
Huh?
video our video submissions, they're raw. They're
Raw and-
unedited, live filmed, and I know that's hard to tell because we are flawless in our execution, but hey, we are mediocre podcast amateurs. So,
Yeah.
you should expect nothing less.
basically, if you're tired of the professionalism that we give you on these audio podcasts, you go watch the raw, uncut, unrated audio or video version on YouTube.
That's right. You'll see us how we truly are. Pathetic. But hey, we love movies and we love you for listening, so thanks.
That's right. And one more thing. We have started releasing a short form series called CinemaMenis.
If I could do audio effects, I'd have it
CinemaMenis.
unfold from my hands.
Yeah. If you're someone who doesn't like to hear us review movies and doesn't like to listen to an hour and a half to 2 hours of us talking, these are for you. So every other week, when we don't release the CinemaMen podcast, we're going to release these 30-minute short form random topic episodes called the CinemaMinis.
And I
And
should
we-
say 30 minutes or less.
Or your money back.
They're going to be short.
Yeah. And we just did one on obscure Disney animated movies. So check that out. And we'll try to release one every other week.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
I think it was underrated, Disney animated movies.
Okay.
Just saying. Just,
Uh,
obscure and underrated are different.
Okay. Check out the one we just did called. Sorry. I'll do that again.
Underrated.
Yeah. See? Raw. We just did one on underrated Disney animated movies.
That's right.
So check that out.
We did.
All right, let's get started.
Oh, wait.
Enough plugging
wait,
stuff.
Wait, no.
What?
No, there's one more thing we need to plug, John.
What is it?
You ready for this?
Yes.
We're going to do a giveaway, John.
Oh, we're doing that.
We're doing a giveaway.
Do it. Go
We've
for
got something.
it. You're in charge of this one.
Oh, great. We've got something that we want to give away. We want you guys engaged, and we're going to make it super easy to enter. And if you hold on and listen for a while, you'll find out how. Are you ready? Are you ready for what we're going to give away? Because this is cool.
Yep.
I think it's cool. If you're a movie nerd, you'll think it's cool. Actually, if you're a movie nerd, you may already have it. But hey, if you don't, now's your chance to win. All of the Rocky movies on Blu-ray. This is a full set. It's a Blu-ray. You've got everything from Rocky 1 all the way to Rocky Balboa. And you
what are
can't
the
see
other
it because
titles?
it's still shrink wrapped. What are the other titles? They're hard to
Yeah.
remember, but you've got Rocky, you've got Rocky 2, then you've got Rocky 3. After that is Rocky 4, then Rocky 5,
Mm-hmm.
and then
I
this is
struggled
where it
with
gets
that one.
tricky. This is when it gets tricky. After Rocky 5, you've got Rocky Balboa. This is a six disc set, loaded with extra features. Maybe not loaded, but there's a lot of extra features on here, and we are itching to send this to somebody. So
Hey, Matt.
keep watching. Yes?
Are we going to tell them right now how to do this? Or later?
Let's tell them later, because I don't have the
Okay.
thing up yet. But we'll tell you how to win this. Whoever gets it, I will mail this to you absolutely free of charge. No shipping costs, no nothing. All you have to do is enter and win this set of movies.
Excellent.
And we'll tell you how to do that in a little bit.
All right, let's get started.
Let's do it.
The plot synopsis from IMDb.com for The Shining is: a family heads to an isolated hotel for the winter, where a sinister presence influences the father into violence, while his psychic son sees horrific forebodings from both past and future.
Forebodings.
I think we had a novelist write this one.
You don't hear the word foreboding used
No,
as a
forebodings
noun
even.
very often. Here, John, I have some forebodings for you.
Matt, I'm very curious because, as you've expressed on episodes before, you don't really like The Shining. So I'm curious to see if this most recent viewing changed your mind.
Okay. So are you asking me to proceed with my personal review of this film?
Yes.
All right. Well, I don't think you're going to be too disappointed or surprised. I'm just going to tell you that.
Okay, that's good. I think.
So, look, I've seen this movie a few times in the past. Growing up, I saw mostly just clips of it. Around the time I was in college, late high school age, early 20s, something like that, I watched it all the way through. I remember feeling super creepy, but I also remember thinking, man, this is not The Shining. I had just read the book then, so the book was fresh in my mind, and I watched this, and I'm like, man, like, I'm super creeped out, but this is... No. Like, this is too weird. It's too out there. I don't like it. And as a result, I kind of was like, I think Kubrick's weird. I don't think Kubrick's for me. Fast forward to Paths of Glory, which was a show we did several episodes ago, and I was blown away by that movie. I thought it was incredible. I loved it. And so I'm entering into this movie with a bit of a jaded past, but with optimism, because I really liked Paths of Glory, and I thought, well, maybe I've grown up a little bit, and this movie will really start to shine.
Ha!
So I did. I put all this in my head. I did my best to blank slate everything with this movie. Sat down in a dark room, lit a candle, and I fired it up. Right? Unfortunately, I'm going to have to report back to you honestly, John. And that's exactly what I'm about to do.
That's all I'm asking. Honesty.
This movie is an absolute masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
From the very first scene of Jack Torrance driving in, you can see the title card down below me if you're watching on video. It's a bright, shiny day. He's in his little yellow Volkswagen, and he's just driving. And that's all he's doing. He's driving down a windy road, up mountains, and into snow, up to the overlook. From that very scene, it starts getting creepy. And it just cranks it, and cranks it, and cranks it. And it never lets up. It just gets worse and worse and worse. It's phenomenal. The creepiness holds on until the very, very end when the credits roll. I cannot think of a horror movie that really portrays horror in a way that I like more than this movie. For me, the best horror movies are the ones that kind of forego the jump scare effects and go for just all-in atmosphere and creepiness and that feeling of terror or discomfort that just kind of washes over you. I feel like those are the best horror movies. That's entirely a personal opinion, but it's how I feel personally. And this movie it's a freaking masterclass in that. There's no jump scares at all, hardly. I don't think there's a one in this movie. And it's just solid atmosphere and dread, and the unsettling imagery, the music, all of it like the cinematography, it all combines to this perfect picture of just scary, just horror, right? And man, it's just damn good. It really is. The story is amazing. So if you're not familiar with the story, we've got a family whose husband takes a job as the caretaker of a hotel that's way up in the mountains of Colorado. This hotel closes down 5 months a year because of the deep snows and the inaccessibility of it, and they hire a caretaker to make sure that the place stays in good shape over those months. That position is isolated away from the world and up in the snowy mountains of Colorado. The guy basically gets into this place. The place is a little bit haunted. He goes a little bit nuts, and he tries to kill his entire family. I mean, that's pretty much it. Why did he go crazy? Was it the house? Was he already crazy? And just the being alone and isolated exacerbated that in his head? We never find out. This movie doesn't tell us. And you know what? It doesn't matter. The fact that we don't know makes it better even. Because it leaves questions that you can keep turning in your head when the credits roll. It's great. Being confused actually adds to the atmosphere thing that I'm talking about. You know, you don't know what's going on. Neither do the characters. Nobody knows. Jack's just insane. Like, I don't know. It's great. Acting-wise. There's a small cast in this. If you look widescreen and extras and everything, it gets big. But the main cast is really pretty small. You can nail it down to about 4 characters. All of their performances, I felt, were just amazing. I want to say that when the movie opens, some of the performances felt a little bit forced to me. In particular, before they're in the hotel, when they're like driving into the car, things like that. Some of those felt a little artificial. But once we get into the meat of this movie, everyone's locked in the hotel. You've got grade A world-class acting going on from all 3 of our main characters. Shelley Duvall, Jack Nicholson, and Danny. Who played Danny?
Danny Lloyd.
Danny Lloyd. Just amazing. You see Jack go insane. You see Shelley lose it because of what's going on with Jack. And you see Danny trying to deal with all this from the perspective of a child. And holy crap, does he do a good job for a kid actor. Cinematography and directing. Honestly, John, it doesn't get better than this. We're constantly barraged with uncomfortable shots that just feel a little bit off, right? Like if you watch it, you're like, okay, this is a cool thing. I see what's going on, but there's something about the shot that's a little bit weird, and it's always subtle. And like maybe the camera's going at a weird angle down a hall instead of going parallel. It's slightly slanting, or maybe the camera will kind of curve the image just a little bit, enough to make you be like, something's not right. This is weird, and it's phenomenal. Like, it's so subtle and it's so effective at the same time. Even in the opening shots when we're doing these flyovers of the car, right? Like, instead of following the car, we're doing these weird kind of angly moves. And it doesn't feel right, and it just adds to it. This movie is studied in film schools and in movie appreciation schools a lot for this. And it's easy to see why they do that. This is hands down some of the best cinematography I think that's ever been done. The music, it's so good. This movie has no theme. It's just a bunch of like screams and crashes and eerie sounds that sound somewhat like a melody sometimes, but all it does is serve to make you feel super uncomfortable. You'll hear horn blasting, you'll hear moans and crashes, and you'll hear strings going, lots of that kind of stuff. And you've got all of this stuff mixed together in different combinations and solos that makes some of the most terrifying emotions that I've ever felt just from sound. Wendy Carlos and Rachel Elkind, I think, are the people responsible for this music, and the work's masterful. It's original and it's super effective. So here you go, John. In summary, this movie's a legend. It's an absolute legend of a movie. I don't know why I didn't catch on to this earlier in my viewings when I saw it when I was younger, but thankfully this time it surely did. I really don't have much negative to say about this film at all. The only thing, if I had to pick, is that it's kind of a crappy adaptation of the story in the novel. It's
Oh yeah.
it and that it's kind of famous for that. It doesn't do a very good job of telling the original story. However,
Yeah.
this movie is an absolute work of art, a masterpiece work of art. And so, if you're a big fan of the book The Shining, this is my recommendation to you. And I've been talking for forever, but I had a lot to say, so I'm sorry. Forget you've ever read the book. Throw the book out the window and just go into this movie new, right? Don't look at it as an adaptation of Stephen King's The Shining. Instead, look at it as its own thing, its own movie. And, my gosh. It high marks. That's what I think
Awesome.
on this film.
Well, you made my day. I'm sitting here in my own sweat because it's 83 degrees in my house. And I was dreading Matt's review where he was going to say, this is a pile of poopy. But no, he totally redeemed himself.
I couldn't do it, man. And I'm being completely honest. I absolutely just was blown away by it. I don't know what I was missing earlier on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think as we've discovered throughout the years, it depends on when you watch a movie. And possibly you needed to watch Paths
Right.
of Glory before you watch The Shining again.
It's
Or
possible.
whatever. Because I don't know the last time you actually tried to watch it. I mean, I don't have a lot of extra to say. I'll probably just kind of hit some of the points that Matt brought up. 100% agree, first off. This is a perfect movie. I can't think of a single moment in the movie that I would change. You mentioned up front that the acting at the beginning is kind of forced. I don't think so. I think if you're talking about Jack Torrance's performance, or maybe even Ullman was his name.
Ullman, yeah.
Yeah, I think those were fine. I believe the intention was that we were to think that Jack was already insane before he even came to the hotel. But that's up for debate. And they purposefully make it ambiguous, so that you can kind of decide for yourself how things went down. It is a masterpiece. Everything from the camera work to the set design to the acting to the score to the effects. I mean, everything is done expertly. One of the things that I noticed was the hotel that they used as for the set. Everything looked like it was meticulously added for the express purpose of this story. It has this old, like, 70s carpet. Like, the hotel has been around for forever, but it looked like they may have renovated it in the 70s or whatever, which you would think would make it kind of outdated, but it just adds to the atmosphere of the story they're trying to tell here, and it doesn't feel outdated. Nothing in this movie really feels outdated, in my opinion. The camera shots, yeah, I mean, I don't know how they got some of the shots in the opening. Like, I assume they used like a helicopter or something, but there's one point where they
where they get right next to the car.
Yeah,
I thought the exact same thing. This was before drones.
Yeah, there are no drones.
I have no idea how they did that.
You would now that I'm thinking about it, maybe they had a car that was driving alongside them,
But
and
no,
a
they
helicopter.
couldn't have. unless they transitioned to the camera to the helicopter
Yeah.
somehow.
Spliced it in editing. I'm not sure. That's the only thing I can think of.
It's incredible
But-
shot though.
It was awesome.
I noticed that
Um,
very same thing. I was like, how did they do that?
Yeah. The shots where, and Kubrick used this a lot, where it's a behind the back shot and going around corners. That is
Tons.
such a great way to build suspense, even if there's nothing there around the corner, which most of the times there isn't. But you have no idea what's around that corner until the camera comes around, and the people that have turned the corner are already around the corner. It was great. He used that a lot in the hotel and in the hedge maze.
And he does it from both angles too. A lot of times he'll be in front of the characters with them walking towards you, and then a lot of times he'll switch it and you're walking behind them.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that there was no theme. I agree. However, if I play for you the opening score,
Mm-hmm.
you will know now what that is from. Like, it's so unique and iconic that, and once we get to watch Doctor Sleep, they used that score in that movie.
It's a great
And
effect,
as soon
I
as it
imagine.
started, I was like, oh, it's awesome. So yeah, I'm not really doing I'm just piggybacking off of your stuff, but because my review is basically the same as yours. We've done 3 movies that have starred Jack Nicholson on this podcast, and I'm not sad about it. The guy is just brilliant. Everything he does is amazing.
Wait a minute.
What's that?
We've done The Shining. We did Chinatown. What was the
Batman.
other one? Oh, okay.
Batman.
Okay. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, it's just amazing. The story is intriguing. It's purposefully ambiguous and vague. Is Jack crazy? Is the hotel causing him to be this way? What kind of powers does Danny have? How powerful is Danny? Like, all these questions are asked. Some of them are answered, and then some of them they leave up to the viewer. I love how they break up this movie into chapters of a book, almost.
Mm-hmm.
They start with 1 month later. Then they go into days of the week. Then they go into time of the day, and that
Yeah.
adds to the
Just
tension.
narrow it down more and more.
narrowing
and more.
narrowing it down. It's awesome. The frequent shots of outside showing the snowdrifts slowly piling up over the hotel to the point where the snowdrifts are as high as the hotel are. That was awesome. It just shows how isolated they are and how alone they are, and no one can get, like, they leave. Kubrick is telling the audience, don't even think about, well, what if someone could get up there? No one can get up there. There's no help. I don't have any nitpicks, other than, and we'll talk about this, what characters can see what things at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they establish that the reason why certain people can see certain things, but then later on it's like everybody can see certain things. But we can talk about that.
Sure.
Overall, one of the best movies ever made. Go see it if you haven't. With regards to the book, I was going to mention that. It is almost nothing like the book. However, it has enough nods that I think, as long as you know going into it that it's not the same story, but it has some of the same characters, you'll appreciate it for the nods that it makes. But this is almost a psychological thriller more than a horror movie. The book is a horror movie. And if you think about it that way...
It's a horror book.
Sorry. It's a horror novel. Yeah. This is a horror... Stephen King's Shining is a horror novel.
I'm sorry.
The Shining, Kubrick, is a psychological thriller.
I'm sorry, John.
It's alright. Anyway, I recommend it.
I do too. I highly, highly recommend it.
So, let's get into the details.
No, wait, hold on.
It's just, I love how they start it because it's just this nonchalant, like, car driving up a windy road alone. Like, you don't ever see any other vehicles.
You do.
And
I think you
you've got-
see like one or two, but you don't see very many.
Okay.
I remember
I don't
specifically
seeing-
him driving past one car
Okay.
because I was pretty enamored by the opening too. So I was,
Right. And you've got this helicopter tracking shot, we assume, kind of winding its way, following the vehicle, and this
music.
cacophonous, like, horn. Yeah, like you listen to that, the only thing you can think about is like, what's about to happen, but nothing really happens in the opening.
And I want to talk about those helicopter shots. I mentioned
Yeah.
this in my review, but it's a simple I say simple, but I mean it's a standard car tracking scene. You've got a helicopter. It's looking down as this tiny little yellow VW Bug snakes through the mountains. But I mean, I think even if you take the music out, which the music adds to the creepiness there's always something like a little off about the angle of the helicopter or the shot. And this is those kind of subtleties that I was alluding to, or just basically throwing in your face, I guess, not alluding to. Where, like, I think even without the music, this scene would be creepy. Like, it's never just following the car. It's always on some kind of a weird path across the car's path, behind it. But, like, going behind it at an angle, not straight. Or maybe
Right.
it's, like, slightly changing altitude, or it could be that instead of a flat shot, you've got a tilted shot. But there's always something subtle there that really just, I mean, from the beginning, you start feeling uneasy. From a sunshiny drive in the middle of a sunlit forest with mountains in the background, you're just like, ugh, okay. It's incredible.
Yeah, and when you think about it, I don't think there are very few standard shots or standard scenes in this movie. Like, almost every shot either has a creepy score overlay, a weird camera shot, or a weird something that the actor is doing that's weird.
Yeah,
or
and I mean,
horrific.
almost every shot in this movie is one of those long pans where you're behind someone or in front of them. I mean, occasionally the camera will sit still so that we can see a scene play out. But, I mean, almost every shot, the camera is moving slowly with the characters over a long period of time.
Yeah. So that opening it just sets the mood. It gets you geared up and ready for what is about to happen. The other question, or the question I have to you that I definitely wanted to talk about before anything else is, and we've sort of patted around it in the review, but there are theories that say that Jack Torrance was already insane before he came to the hotel, and then there are theories that the house or the hotel caused him to go insane. There are theories that just because he was, like, it was a cabin fever thing, like, it didn't have anything to do with the hotel, it was the fact that he was isolated, and that's why he went insane. What do you think? What is your theory?
I think, honestly, we could have an entire podcast discussing that question. It's my inclination and my gut tells me that he had a lot of problems. He had a lot of emotional issues, but I don't think he was insane. I think when he got up in that cabin, the forces in that cabin started working on him, and it drove him to it. I don't think he was like that originally. But then you think about the scene where he's talking to Grady, and Grady tells him, "You're the caretaker. You've always been the caretaker." And then you're like, well, wait a minute. Okay, what does that mean? Are they going back to before he was at the hotel? Like, you never really know. And I think that question is one of the reasons I like this movie so much. because you really don't. There's no answer. The answer is whatever you personally interpret the answer to be. And it's a question that really makes you think about it a lot. And no joke, I think we could probably spend 30 minutes to an hour just discussing that question.
Yeah, there's so many things that make you think one way or the other, and for me it's different per viewing. Like the last time I watched it, I was certain that Jack went insane while he was at the hotel, and it was the hotel itself that did it. But this viewing, I paid more attention to the opening scene, and he's acting pretty weird.
Oh, definitely.
On that drive to the hotel.
Yeah, for sure he does. No question.
He's talking so almost gleefully or nonchalant about the Donner Party to his son, and Danny's like, "Oh, I already knew about them," or whatever, or he knew about cannibalism, and
saw it on TV.
Jack's like, "Oh, see, Wendy, he saw it on TV." It's like he's it's hard to parse Jack Nicholson because he always looks insane. So I couldn't tell if he was trying to tell the audience that he was already insane or if that was just him being himself. And then his interview at the hotel was weird. So
see, I didn't get that weird of a vibe from the interview. I mean, there were some awkward pauses, and it was a little awkward, but I didn't get anything sinister from it.
Not sinister, just off kilter, I guess. And there's a moment, this was a weird shot, but there's a moment where, so Ullman brings in this other guy. I guess he's sort of like a, I don't know who he is.
He's like number two in charge.
Anyway, there's a shot that kind of lingers a little too long, and he's just seriously staring at Jack. Like, almost, like a lost stare, or even, I don't know, maybe menacing, but I couldn't tell what that was about. That was really weird. But anyway, like I said, I got a different take on it this time. And maybe we should...
So, yeah, and that's something we should mention too. I feel like this is a movie that the more you watch it, the more you'll see. There's so much going on in this. Like, it definitely warrants multiple viewings.
Yeah, and as weird as it sounds, this is not a movie that you watch once. Like, it's a movie you want to watch multiple times, at least for me. Like, this to me, it could be every year around October. Like, watch The Shining. We should probably kind of shortly gloss over the book a little bit, maybe.
That'll have to be you, because I read it like 30 years ago. Not quite, but a long time ago.
All I want to say is that the book is basically these same characters. They live in Colorado. They do the same thing. They move to the Overlook Hotel. Jack, his name is John in the book. He gets a job as the caretaker for the Overlook. The big difference is that John finds this scrapbook of the Overlook that's in the Overlook Hotel, and that drives him to write a story about the Overlook. And he is very clearly haunted and pushed into going insane in that book. Whereas
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Whereas the movie is more ambiguous. That's all I want to say. Go ahead.
No, I'm jumping topics, so I apologize for that. But he starts getting real snippy with Wendy, who's Shelley Duvall's character, and his wife, really early on. Like,
yes.
I mean, just like the first month, he starts getting real mean with her. And so, again, it's interpretation. Was it the house working on him, or was it the isolation starting to creep in and starting to hit him? Because we find out earlier in the movie that he dislocated Danny's shoulder, he came home drunk one day. Danny had taken some of his writing and had like thrown it on the floor, and he got angry and he tried to pull Danny up, and he pulled too hard and basically pulled his shoulder out of socket. There's a scene where he looks like you see a glimpse of him being sincere and fighting against it, where he says, I didn't mean to do it. I just did it too hard. But then, you start questioning that, and you never know.
He does it so perfectly.
Man, he really does. Watching Jack Nicholson go insane in this movie is just wow. Like, wow.
There's a scene where he's sitting on his bed and Danny's tiptoeing into the room just to get his fire truck or something. And he beckons Danny over and sits him on his lap. And in my notes, I was about to write, this is a genuine moment from Jack, like he's going to talk to his son in a genuine, sincere way. But then I kept watching and I forgot that he's also really insane in that moment as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's asking, did your mom tell you, or did your mom, I forget what it was, but basically accusing Wendy of doing something, and Danny's like, no, she didn't say that. And
yeah, basically, Danny asks Jack if he would ever hurt him or his mommy. And Jack comes back with, did your mom put that idea in your head?
That's right.
And we'll get to this, but that scene was one of the creepiest and most well-executed scene in the entire movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of Danny, Danny has an ability called the Shine, or Shining.
Those familiar with Stephen King will probably be also familiar with that term.
And it's this ability, it's a sort of psychic ability where he can see things that other people can't, hear things that other people can't. And there's a man at the hotel named Dick Halloran, and he also has the Shine. And Dick kind of talks to Danny, and they become sort of close within the short period of time that they can. Anyway, in the book, they developed a closer bond. But Dick kind of tells Danny, other people have this, more people than you would think, and they can kind of communicate without speaking. And that sort of establishes a lot of the things that happen to Danny throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny has this friend who lives in his mouth named Tony. And Tony talks for Danny sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, through the whole film, I thought of Tony as kind of almost like a protective entity, like a spirit that's trying to protect Danny and his gift. Because whenever it gets real serious, you'll see Tony come out and talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another aspect of the movie that's left a little bit ambiguous, because we see, before they go to the hotel, Danny's standing in front of the mirror brushing his teeth, and he blacks out. And he wakes up in bed. There's a doctor there who comes and talks to him. And so we find out that he maybe has some issues in his brain going on. We don't know exactly what that is, but he's a kid that sometimes spaces out and loses track of time. And so it can also be interpreted that there's not a Tony, and this is all literally just in Danny's head, and it's a coping mechanism for the environment that he's put in. And it's never explained if it is or not. But personally, I took it as like a guardian entity, like something was watching over him.
I definitely would too, because before Jack calls the house and says that he has the job, Danny already knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason he blacks out is he has a vision about the hotel, the bleeding or the blood coming through the elevator. Like, I would consider that more of a supernatural thing than a actual brain function
And I
problem.
mean, the conversation he has with Dick kind of drives that home. But it's still out there and, up for debate.
It's an interpretation, yeah. And we've got Wendy, who is played by Shelley Duvall, and she does a really good job. Like,
Amazing.
She is perfect at playing this cheerful, nothing gets her down kind of person, and that adds all the more to what Jack ends up saying and doing to her.
I don't want to get too into did you know, but she was infamously treated really, really badly during the filming of this movie. And it was, a lot of people speculate that was intentional on Kubrick's part to bring out kind of a strain, a subtle kind of subconscious strain in her character. And man, can you detect it. I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
She's got that kind of happy, sunny disposition, but you can almost feel this underlying tension that she's constantly carrying with her. Like when she smokes, a lot of times you'll see her hands, like when she goes to light her cigarette, her hands will shake, or she'll just kind of there'll just be like a split second where you can see, like in her eyes, this kind of unease that she's constantly carrying with her, this anxiety maybe, or worry, and my gosh, like another masterful performance, right? I mean, Nicholson and Duvall both are just, I mean, some of the best acting I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely get the sense that she's married to Jack and she's staying with him because she has to, not necessarily because she loves him completely because of his past.
Almost like maybe she's too afraid to leave. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because she finally, at one point in the movie, she's like, "We're leaving. This is it. I'm getting out." But it took the events up to that point to finally break her enough to go.
Yeah.
And
if you know, knowing what those events are,
yeah,
it's
and I mean the abuse that she constantly puts up with from Jack throughout their stay at the hotel. It reveals a lot about her character. I think it's. You see that a lot commonly even today, where people get into these abusive relationships where they're either too scared to leave or I guess this is also too scared to leave, but they're comfortable in the relationship and they don't want to break it off because of that comfort. They're afraid of leaving that and going into the unknown. Their very identity is tied into that relationship. And, it's a sad thing, but I feel like she portrays it in such in a masterful way, I guess. It's just like even when she's being happy, I feel like you can feel it in her.
Yeah, for sure. So the thing that really stitches this movie together, I think, is the music. And there were points where I almost turned the volume down because of the high-pitched, like, constant. I guess it was a horn, probably, but
there were a lot of strings, a lot of high strings, like
a violin, yeah. And it was just constant.
Like, and I agree to that note, right? They would even play. Hey, it's a good catch, John. They would even play this high tension music over happy scenes, peaceful scenes. Like, you would see Wendy and Danny playing in the hedge maze or something and just having a good time. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they would just start cranking up that music. And for no reason other than to just make you uncomfortable. And it freaking works.
Yeah. Well, and probably because I wish I could remember if this was true or not. But I want to say that music was played anywhere around the hotel. But I don't think that's true. I think it was also played.
Yeah.
Because there were scenes
played
where
outside.
Yeah. Well, I just mean, like, when Dick Halloran went to Florida, I'm trying to remember if it was played in his hotel or his room or
I think
not.
probably it was. At least it was when he was on the phone trying to talk. But
Yeah.
I don't know that for sure either. I didn't watch it that close.
Yeah. But yeah, probably wrong, but I got the sense that the hotel, any scenes around the hotel really amped up that music and had that tension going because it was really effective. And so the hedge maze was part of that. Like, obviously, that maze ends up being very important later on. But yeah, even though they're out having fun, just running and walking around the maze, that music is playing because they're still in the area. They're still in danger, or there's still something that could happen. Oh, and I loved, and it's probably here on this slideshow you've got going. But they're in the maze, and Jack comes up. There's a model version of the maze in the hotel, and he looks down on it, and then it cuts to this top-down shot, and then you actually see Wendy and Danny in the middle of the maze.
Yeah.
Almost like he knows where they are. He's looking at them from above.
Yeah,
That was
that's
so
an
good.
amazing transition. And it kind of catches you off guard because you don't know, right? Like, can he actually see them in there? Because he's got this crazy look on his face kind of when he's looking at the maze. But then you pan down and you're actually in the maze with them. And so it's another one of those where you're like, well, I don't know. Maybe he was, maybe not. Maybe it's just a cool transition shot.
Yeah. Another, like you said, the ambiguousness, like maybe the hotel is showing him where they are. Or maybe he's just crazy and he's just looking at the maze.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe he's not crazy and he's just looking at the maze. It could be any one of them.
But then there's another shot where it's just a shot of Jack Nicholson and he's looking at the camera.
Oh my gosh, that shot!
Like he's been lobotomized or something.
Yeah, he's just got this blank stare while he stares out the window, unmoving, and the camera kind of gets closer and closer to him. That's the first time you see him, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's losing it. Right? That is the point where you realize he's starting to crack.
Yeah. Yeah, so many good scenes. The scenes in the room where he's typing, like we mentioned up front, the very first month in, she goes and asks him a question, and he just flies off the handle. He's like, "You're interrupting my creativity, my flow. Don't come in here if I'm in here. If you hear me typing, or you don't hear me typing, don't come in here." And he just lets her have it.
Yeah.
And
like, well, do you understand? And she's like, yeah. And he goes, well, why don't you start now and get the fuck out? And I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah.
It ramps up to freaking 100 real quick.
And that scene is all the more cool when you realize what he is typing.
Yeah, he won't let her see the manuscript for the entire movie, and then she finally manages to see it.
Well, you notice when she goes in there for the first time, he's typing, and she comes up behind him, and he rips the paper out of the typewriter. So cool. It's awesome to know that's what he was doing the whole time, but we didn't find out until probably an hour later in the movie.
Yeah, near the end.
I love it. What other scenes? There's some really good.
I'll tell you one of my favorite scenes, and I don't know if I can explain why other than just the visual of the scene. But Jack winds up chasing Danny out into the hedge maze. And there's a scene where Danny has a head start, and Jack knows where he's at, and he's stalking outside, limping with this axe. And there's this shot of the hotel in the background. It's just winter ice, kind of an angled from the bottom looking up shot of Jack just kind of going like with this mad look on his face, and this hotel in the background, and that is one of the most amazing shots I've ever seen from a pure visual perspective. I wish I had a poster of that, because it blew my mind when I saw it. Like, I wanted to pause and go back and watch it over and over again just because of that one visual. Talking about scenes, though, I can think of two that I felt were particularly interesting. Maybe three. I like a whole bunch. The whole dang movie's interesting.
Yeah.
But the conversations he has with Lloyd at the bar and then with Grady in the bathroom, two classic scenes. Well,
I love those so much.
There's the famous scene where here's Johnny, where he breaks through the bathroom. That's probably the most famous scene in this film.
Little pig, let me in.
Oh my gosh, he looks so
Not
crazy.
my chin.
He looks so crazy when he's saying that. We see this scene a lot, but the blood elevator. They reused that scene a whole lot, understandably, because I'm sure it was ridiculously expensive to make that scene. But my gosh, what an effective and amazing scene that is.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so creepy.
And all it's there for is to kind of evoke this creepiness, but also maybe represent how much death is at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
How much blood has been spilled.
And really, we only know about two of them, right? We know that Grady, the old caretaker, killed his wife and his daughters with an axe. And it's heavily implied, and if you read the book, this is what happens, but it's heavily implied in the film that the lady in room 237 killed herself. And the book just straight tells you that's what happens, but in the book it's a little more ambiguous. But I mean, that's it as far as we know in terms of deaths in this hotel.
Yeah. But again, the movie's purpose is to be very vague. And so, because we see other things via Wendy's eyes near the end, my assumption was that a lot more happened there than we actually saw.
I think that's pretty evident.
Yeah.
And that does kind of give me a little bit of a nitpick I have with this film.
Okay.
So
I'm ready.
The girls that were murdered, Danny comes across them several times when he's by himself, and then they just go away and we never see him again. I wish we had more story related to those two girls instead of them just appearing and then going away from the story. Like, I'll forget about that. That's just there to creep you out. So a little more explanation there would have been nice. Also, a little more explanation about room 237, because we never really find out what went down there. Danny comes back with Red. All right, we've reconnected. Okay, so sorry about that interruption there. But, we know that Danny went in there and came out choked. We know that Jack went in there and saw this pretty lady and started getting all handsy with her, and then she turns into like a rotted old lady corpse, and he runs out. But that's it, right? That's all we get about 237. I wish the movie had taken just a little bit of more time to give us a little more explanation as to what's going on there. Not knowing does help a little bit, I guess, with the confusion aspect of it and the discomfort. But if you're going to introduce these things to us, give us a little something, even if it's just a little bit. Yeah. With the girls, we got the little bit from the murdered two girls, but with 237, we didn't get anything. And also the wife. What happened to her? Why are the girls haunting the hotel and the wife's not? Is that 237 supposed to be the wife that he murdered? Because she didn't have axe wounds when she turned all ghost mode.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah, and there's even more than that. Like, we see the dog costume guy giving the blowjob to the other dude.
If that's what he's doing. You don't really know. But what the heck is that thing all about? That's just weird.
That was in the book, so I know exactly what he was doing. And then all the people in the gold bar room and Lloyd, like, we don't know anything about Lloyd. Like,
yeah, Lloyd was weird. Why does he know his name instantly? Why does Danny instantly know that his name's Lloyd?
Yeah, and we can talk about that maybe just a moment because we're at an hour and we can move
Okay.
into star ratings. But yeah, just ambiguity everywhere, and it's just to keep the audience like confused and guessing. And I love everything about it. Like, I don't consider that a nitpick. I consider that a feature. um, well, why don't we talk about the ending
Okay.
and our theories on what the ending means? So as Matt said, at the ending, um, Danny runs into this large hedge maze that takes about an hour to get through on a normal day. It's snowing outside, several foot snowdrifts. He's running away from his dad, who's trying to kill him, and Danny ends up outsmarting Jack in an awesome way by backtracking his steps and then getting rid of his steps to throw Jack off, and then he exits the maze.
Yeah, just to add to that, as he runs into the maze, he's obviously leaving pretty deep footprints. Jack has been hurt because he got knocked in the head with a baseball bat and fell down some stairs. He's chasing Danny, but he's not near as fast. And so he's chasing him by following his footprints through the maze. And so that's why he's backtracking. He knew his dad was following him. And so he backtracked and hid. And then when his dad wandered off, he followed his own footsteps to get out of the maze really quickly.
Yeah. Great. Like, all of it to me made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't have a question about how this was happening at all.
The
so he
only
gets out.
issue I had, and I'm sorry, you're trying to roll and I keep stopping you. The only issue I had was, Jack winds up freezing to death. And it bothered me that he so quickly froze to death. You know what I mean? Like Danny's been out there longer than Jack. He's a young boy, and he's running and doing fine. But Jack is like, and then he just sits down and basically dies. Now, I grant that he was injured, right? He had a head wound. He was limping. But it bothered me that he so quickly was just sat down and froze to death. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't. So if you notice, he starts to lose his ability to speak clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does.
I got the sense that maybe because he was breathing so heavily, because he was injured, he was going into hypothermia quicker than Danny was, just because Danny wasn't injured and he wasn't like gasping for breath like Jack was. And that's the only.
I mean, that's true.
That's my.
And if you watch that scene, he almost looks like his chest is hurt, like he's covering, like he's holding against a wound on his chest. We never see that happen, so maybe that's a cut scene or something. But it looked like he had been hurt at some point.
Yeah. That
we just didn't see.
Side note: if you read a lot of Stephen King, what you will notice is that he likes to give his characters heart conditions. And so maybe Jack was having a heart attack or something while he was chasing Danny. But anyway, that can be a CinemaMen. We can talk about.
That's fine. Yeah. Sorry to derail you again. I'll stop now.
Anyway, the next morning, I guess they show a cut and they show Jack has frozen, and then they pan it. They go into the house and they zoom in on this black and white photo that's in the hotel, and it's from 1921, and it's in the gold bar room, and it shows a bunch of patrons, and then at the bottom, in dead center, is Jack Nicholson's face.
Well, it's not just his face; it's him.
Well,
you can see
his whole
all
body.
of him.
Yeah. So what is your theory? So I've read some things, but I had my own theory, and then I read some things. So what is your theory on what this means?
I think it goes back to his conversation with Grady, where he accuses Grady of murdering his wife and kids and says you were the caretaker, and Grady's like, no, you've always been the caretaker. I think that was the house claiming him. And you know, I think any subsequent caretakers who have issues that show up there will run across Jack, maybe tending the bar, or you know, maybe doing something else. But I think that was a sign that the hotel won. That's kind of how I took that.
Okay. That is my interpretation, is that he is the caretaker. He was claimed by the hotel, and so his face ended up in that old photo.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody in that photo has been taken by the hotel in some way or form.
I didn't think about that, but that, I mean,
However,
maybe, yeah.
yeah. However, according to Stanley Kubrick, the man who made the movie, he says that the hotel is luring reincarnated versions of Grady and Torrance. And so Jack Torrance is the reincarnated version of the caretaker that was there in 1921. And that's how he knows who Lloyd is. That's how he... and that's why Grady had no memory of killing his children, because he was not the Grady that killed his children 10 years ago.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not have ever gathered that, but that's interesting. Definitely.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah. I still like to think about it in my way, but I like that answer too. Okay. Star ratings.
Okay.
I'm excited. What is your
so
star rating?
I absolutely love this movie. It's a masterpiece. It's one of the best horror movies ever made. It's one of the best movies ever made. That said, I don't think it's perfect. I'm not going to go as far as you go. I think it's an absolute masterpiece, but I don't think it's perfect. And so, because of that, I can't give it the 10. So, I'm going to take it down. I'm going to give it the 9. I will admit I considered a 10 on this. But I just don't feel right. Something doesn't set right giving this a 10. It didn't quite have the emotional impact that Harakiri did for me. But it's still incredible. I would happily watch this over and over again. And so I'm going to come in with a very solid, if not slightly weighted up, 9.
Okay. Well, I probably didn't not defend is the wrong word because we both liked it, but I probably didn't describe how much I love this movie very well. But it is just, I do think it's perfect. It has a perfect cast, it has a perfect score, it has a perfect ambiance or atmosphere. Ambiance. I love the story. I love the idea of the questions around whether Jack is insane the whole time, or if it's just some haunting, or if it's just cabin fever. I love the ending. Dick Halloran, we didn't even talk about him very much, but he is awesome as
you mean Scat?
The
Scatman Crothers.
Scatman Crothers, yeah. He is great as the
Dick.
kitchen cook.
Yeah, he is.
We didn't talk about his room where he has some interesting posters.
He does indeed.
He's the coolest. It's just all around a wonderful movie, and I can watch it, and I have watched it multiple times. And like we talked about, I found a different take on it this time. And I agree with Matt. The more you watch it, the more you're going to find things, the more you're going to notice things about the movie that you didn't notice previous. It's just great. And Stanley Kubrick, like, he is one of the best directors of all time. His camera work, his attention to detail, his weirdness, like, all of that falls in line with my taste. So I've got to get this a 10 out of 10.
We need a sound clip to play when somebody drops a 10 on the podcast. This is your second 10 now.
I'll find one. Yeah, second 10, and not too far.
So you've
Although
heard it here, folks. John Murphy holds The Shining on the same pedestal as Best of the Best.
Yeah, I was about to say. We should have like 10 out of 10.
A golden 10 or something.
Yeah, like a way
A
to
spicy
distinguish.
10 or a...
Because I recognize that Best of the Best is not a critical 10 out of 10, but for me, it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a
But
personal.
The Shining is technically both. Like, it's a personal 10 out of 10, but it's also a critical 10 out of 10. So anyway, that's good. Let's do some Spice Awards.
Let's do it.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories tonight. Best Actor, Most Underrated Performance, Favorite Scene, Favorite Thrilling Moment, and Favorite Quote. Best Actor, Matt Hurdle.
All right, so it's almost impossible to choose between the three main characters to me. Watching Jack Nicholson go crazy is just, it's phenomenal. Watching Shelley Duvall deal with all this happening as kind of the normal lady that has this underlying layer of anxiety and fear that gets brought to the surface, masterful. Watching Danny, how old was he in this film? Like 9? Like, it's one of the best child acting performances I've ever seen. The way he deals with everything, the way he shows the terror and the way he shows his unease and his also like keeping that with a layer of childhood innocence. It's just amazing. I had such a hard time choosing this award that I didn't even put an answer down. I want to say all three of them. I can't though. I have to choose one. So I guess if I have to choose, I'm gonna go with Jack, just because if you watch his face when he's in full-on insane murder mode, like, it's just so unsettling. Like the way he looks and the way his character transitions over the course, it's just grade A. But I'll be honest, if I could, I would pick all three of them.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I firmly believe that all three of them were great performances. All of the three of them were doing different things because they had to. But Jack Nicholson, I feel like his job was the hardest.
I don't
because
know.
he had.
I don't know. Shelley Duvall's job was really hard too.
Yeah, but he had to, like, Shelley Duvall, you get where she's coming from. She's cheerful. She's clearly a little bit like she doesn't want to be here kind of thing. And then she goes into freak out mode because Jack Nicholson's going insane. So yeah, it was probably difficult, but it's a normal performance, it's a performance that makes sense. Jack Nicholson's performance, he has to be very deliberate in what he's doing because he's got to make you think or question, is he crazy? Or is he being possessed? Or is he not really crazy at certain times? And I thought that was the more difficult job. And I picked him, obviously. So that's why I picked him, is because I felt like it's got to take some work to do what he did.
I mean, I agree with you, but just to counteract it a little bit, right? I mean, showing the layers of fear that Shelley Duvall showed and that Danny showed, is also really, really difficult, I think. You know, to be in a studio and to have to display fear that is that convincing, it's tough, man. It's got to be.
Oh yeah. No, I don't want to. I don't want to take anything away from her or Danny Lloyd's performance, but I just think that Jack Nicholson carries this movie. He's kind of the driving force behind it. I mean, it just, and obviously I'm a Nicholson fan. That's gonna weigh in more with my pick than, Shelley Duvall. I don't even think I can remember another movie I've seen her in, or especially Danny Lloyd.
Well, Danny Lloyd, I think, has only been in 3 films.
Yeah.
Ever, and I think one of them was like a documentary about The Shining. Shelley
Annie
Duvall,
Hall.
yeah, Annie Hall. She was also in Popeye.
I've not seen Popeye.
She's a very famous actress, but I don't know. Like, I don't know a lot of movies she's done either, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, Annie Hall is a good movie though.
Time Bandits. She was in Time Bandits.
She was in Time Bandits?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't remember her in that movie, but that's a good movie. That reminds me, we need to do some Terry Gilliam.
We definitely do. It's been on my list for a while, but I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Wow, forgot all about it. Okay. Best actor pick for both of us was Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance. I didn't want to belittle the other performances, but in my notes I put Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance. Duh. Most underrated performance, Matt.
This one was a lot easier for me because there was a standout, in my opinion.
Okay.
That standout was 100% Philip Stone, who played Grady. Grady was a butler ghost who it was insinuated was the past caretaker who killed his family with an axe and then shot himself. But he has several conversations with Jack, and his acting is just stone cold, creepy, and just, it's so good. Every second he was on screen, I was just riveted, which I was anyway because the movie was great. But he really stole the scenes, and he stole scenes from Jack. That's no small feat. Phenomenal work for such a small role. So hands down, easy pick for me. Philip Stone gets that one.
I corrected them. I went with Scatman Crothers as Dick Halloran. And this guy is so freaking cool. I love how he explains The Shining to Danny. He has those interesting posters. I loved his character. He has kind of this grandfatherly, fatherly, friendly figure to Danny. And it seems like he's not scared of anything. He tries to do what's right. And he wants to help the Torrances out and help Danny out. He knows something's going on because Danny has communicated to him that something's going on. He meets an untimely end, but every time he was on the screen, I loved it. He's got in particular, he's got a really good quote at the beginning of the movie when he's talking to Danny, and just really good stuff. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, he did great. But then I think everybody did great.
Yeah, all the performances were awesome. Most underrated performance, Matt's pick was
Philip Stone as Grady.
Philip Stone as Grady. And my pick was Scatman Crothers as Dick Halloran. Favorite scene?
So, it always feels a little weird for me to try to pick a favorite scene when we're talking about a horror movie. because especially movies like this, where the whole movie is designed to make you feel just super uncomfortable throughout the whole thing. That said,
Intriguing.
I've got it narrowed down to two scenes. Well, I have two scenes. One that won, and one that I want to mention as another really great scene. The one that I wound up giving it to, the winner of the spice for me, is the scene where Jack is stalking Wendy up the stairs and she has the bat. You've got a very slow, long panned shot of the camera moving up the stairs and both of them advancing with the camera, like step, step, step. Every step, Jack Nicholson is given some amazing quotable lines. Wendy, light of my life. Yeah, it's so good.
Apple of my eye.
I don't want to hurt you. You didn't let me finish. I said, I don't want to hurt you. I just want to bash your brains in. And she's like breaking down and kind of like half weak swinging this bat around. And oh my gosh, what a scene. It is so tense and it's just, it's so good.
Chef's kiss. Yep.
And I'll let
That's
you
a
tell
great
your
scene.
scene, and then I'll mention the other one that I really loved.
All right. My favorite scene is the scene where Jack is talking to Danny in their bedroom. It is a super creepy moment. You're thinking it's going to be a father-son talk, like maybe Jack's lucid because he just woke up, but no. No. It's not happening.
He wants to get his fire truck, and Wendy won't let him go because his dad's asleep, and he little boys his way in to get them to go. And when he goes in there, Jack's not asleep. He's sitting just straight up, staring out the window with a blank face, and they just look at each other. And Jack does that thing where he doesn't move his body; he just moves his head and looks and sees, and they lock eyes, and instantly you're just like, oh crap.
Yep. There's a mirror in that room, and so the camera is behind Jack Nicholson's head, and it's pointing this way towards Danny. And if you're watching the video, you can see my hand motions. And so you see Jack's face in the mirror, but you just see the back of his head behind the camera, or in front of the camera. And he has such an evil look in the mirror, and from the back, you can't see his emotion. And it's almost like a Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of thing. I thought, and maybe that wasn't the purpose, but that's kind of what I took away from it, was that, two sides of a coin.
Right.
You can see the evil, but you can also just see just a normal dude, like a father. I really like that scene a lot.
Yeah.
So what was your backup?
The backup, the honorable mention, the one that I almost chose was that scene.
Oh.
It was an extremely unsettling and powerful scene, and it sticks with you. Especially as a dad to a kid that's he's 5, but that scene it really, like, the whole time I was just watching it, and then when it was over, I was just like, oh, like I just finished running or something. It was so tense. Like it was amazing. That scene, that scene was amazing.
If you haven't seen the movie before, you don't know if Jack's gonna like wring his neck or hit him or whatever. You have no idea, or cuss him out. Like, there's no you have no idea. So it's so tension filled.
I'm glad I waited. Because I would have felt bad if I picked my scene as my honorable mention and it was yours. That is specifically just in case of that happening. Is why I was like, I'm gonna wait.
Yeah. All right. My favorite scene was the scene where Jack is talking to Danny in their bedroom, and Matt's favorite scene was, I am losing my memory.
When Jack was stalking Wendy up the main staircase.
Yeah. When Jack is stalking Wendy up the staircase. Man. Favorite thrilling moment? Go for it.
This is another tough one because the whole movie is pretty tense. The scene we just discussed was really high on my list. I almost picked that, but I didn't. I wound up going with the instance where Jack and Grady are having their conversation in the bathroom. It's a conversation, but it's a very sinister conversation. As I mentioned, Grady, his performance, Philip Stone's performance as Grady, is just off the charts, and it's such a creepy, intense, and good scene. You really see, like, I feel like that's almost the point where Jack really, really flies off. Like, he's creeping to the edge. And whenever he has that conversation with Grady, I feel like that's when he starts to jump off the end. And everything starts to spiral from that point really quickly. So, to me, that's my choice. Although it's a little odd because it's not really that scary of a scene. Still, there was just this... It felt almost like, you've watched the movie, this tension has been building and building and building and building, and then it hits this point, and it's such an intense scene. I loved it.
Well, that's tension is the appropriate word, because that, I think you said it from the very beginning, like, the movie starts and it doesn't let you release that tension until the very last moment. Well, the credits, or maybe even the zoom in to the photo. So this is just a conversation, but it's a conversation with a ghost or some figment of his imagination.
Right.
And the context of what they're talking about in the bathroom is creepy and thrilling, tension-filled. So yeah, I love that scene too. It was not my pick. My pick was the scene where Jack loses it with Wendy up the stairs, gets hit in the head with a baseball bat, and then drug into that room with the canned goods. Specifically that point where she's dragging him into the room.
He's half waking up, and yeah.
Yes. He's slowly becoming to, and you're like, she's got to get him in that room or he's going to destroy her. And
she can't open she can't get the door open because the pin's in it, and you're just like, pull the pin.
Yes. Yeah, and she's not thinking about it. She's so freaked out she can't think straight.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's a great choice.
It was awesome. And then this isn't really part of my moment, which maybe it should be, but she locks him in there, and then he tries to trick her into, like, oh, I may need to see a doctor. My head hurts real bad, And she's considering it, but then she's like, no. She's taking Danny and getting out. All right. Matt's favorite thrilling moment is when Jack and Grady are having the conversation in the bathroom. And my favorite thrilling moment is when Jack loses it with Wendy up the stairs and gets hit in the head with a baseball bat and drug into the canned goods room. Favorite quote?
Well, we keep going back to this scene, so I'm just going to keep rolling with it because it was my... anyway, it doesn't matter. My favorite scene, but it's when Jack is talking to Wendy as he's stalking her up the stairs. And he looks at her and he's like, Wendy, darling, light of my life, I'm not going to hurt you. You didn't let me finish. I said, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to bash your brains in. Gonna bash them right the fuck in. I'm not going to hurt you. Oh my gosh. You're just like, it's amazing. Stop swinging the bat. Put the bat down, Wendy. Oh, it's just...
Bat down.
Give
me the bat. Give me the bat.
I get creepy just thinking about it. Like, I get creeped out just thinking about it right now.
Yeah. It's very good. It's very good. That was a good Nicholson impression, too.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. You know, it's not on par with your Arnold, but I do my best.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not a good impression, but I appreciate you saying that.
I think that's part of the appeal to our show is that we get to do a quote and we get to impersonate the people that actually said it, and it's terrible.
It's so bad. Might as well just use my regular voice.
My pick was sort of around there. I think it happened previously, a few moments before, but Jack Torrance is talking about his responsibilities.
Yeah, that is right before this.
Yeah, Wendy's saying she needs to take Danny to the doctor, and there's a whole bunch here, but I'm just gonna read the main part that he's.
All right, here we go. I'm
kind of
ready
rant.
for it. I'm ready for
it. So he says, well, I'll start here. He says, are you concerned about me? And Wendy says, of course I am. And Jack says, of course you are. Have you ever thought about my responsibilities? And Wendy says, what are you talking about? Jack says, have you ever had a single moment's thought about my responsibilities? Have you ever thought for a single solitary moment about the responsibilities to my employers? Has it ever occurred to you that I have agreed to look after the Overlook Hotel until May the 1st? Does it matter to you at all that the owners have placed their complete confidence and trust in me, and I have signed a letter of agreement, a contract, in which I have accepted that responsibility? Do you have the slightest idea what a moral and ethical principle is? Do you? Has it ever occurred to you what would happen to my future if I were to fail to live up to my responsibilities? Has it ever occurred to you? Has it? And then she swings the bat.
So, John, I'm not going to comment on your Jack Nicholson impersonation.
Thank you.
But you know what I am going to comment on?
My Wendy impression.
That amazing Nicolas Cage you just did. And I'm not even joking. When you're editing this and when this goes live, listen to yourself. That was a pretty decent Nick Cage.
Well, I got my Nicks mixed up. It's, don't look in my brain because it's all screwy. And I'm sweating over here because it's 83 degrees.
I'm so sorry, dude. That's terrible.
Sorry, 84 degrees. All right. Favorite quote. My quote was, I'm calling it the Responsibilities quote by Jack Torrance. And Matt's favorite quote was the quote where he's telling Wendy to give him the bat and that he's not going to bash her brains in. He's not going to hurt her. He's just going to bash her brains in. Hey, Matt.
Hey, John.
Did you know? Oh.
Excuse me.
That when Jack Torrance says, "Here's Johnny," that was improvised by Jack Nicholson.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Here's something else about that scene. According to Shelley Duvall, that scene took 3 days to film, and they had to use over 60 doors. So
that's a lot of axe swinging.
Mr. Nicholson got a workout on those 3 days. I think it's safe to say.
Stanley Kubrick originally wanted none other than Slim Pickens to play the part of Halloran, but Pickens wanted nothing to do with Kubrick following his experiences working with him on Dr. Strangelove.
I think that's understandable given some of the stuff I've heard about him. He's a great director, but I think he's probably really hard to act for. In order to aid Jack Nicholson in being in an agitated mood, he was fed nothing but cheese sandwiches for 2 weeks. And Jack Nicholson hates cheese sandwiches.
I get it.
So to kind of illustrate that point, that's some of the stuff you'll see there.
Ugh. Stanley Kubrick, who was known for his compulsiveness and numerous retakes, got the difficult shot of pouring blood from the elevators in only 3 takes. You would say this is unremarkable, except those 3 takes took 9, or each shot took 9 days to set up. Every time the doors opened and the blood poured out, Kubrick would say, "It doesn't look like blood." In the end, the shot took approximately a year to get right.
I have to say, they did get it right. It looks like blood. It's some of the most convincing blood I've ever seen, especially in that amount of volume.
Yeah. It's a dark red.
Also,
Like
I
you
feel
would
really bad for the
expect.
people who had to clean that set up.
Yeah.
How many times did they scrub those walls clean?
Yeah. Good gosh.
The maze at the end of the film, whenever we see Danny running from Jack, that the snow in that consisted of 900 tons of salt and crushed up styrofoam. So it wasn't real snow. There's a lot of snow in that scene. So
This is another tidbit that demonstrates how meticulous Kubrick was. There's a insignificant, really, shot of a tennis ball rolling into frame towards Danny's toys.
it's a pink tennis ball. I remember that.
Yep. Took 50 takes
Oh my gosh.
to get it right.
That's ridiculous. Jeez. Most people probably know this, but Stephen King was not a fan of this film when it was released. He said that the visuals were stunning, but that it was surface and not substance. And he frequently was known to describe this movie as a fancy car without an engine in it. I think he might have later changed his tune on that, but I don't know that.
I don't agree with him, but that is his opinion. So we didn't talk a lot about some of the stuff in the book, but one of the things that was removed from the movie was these topiaries or hedge animals that came alive in the book and haunted John Torrance. Kubrick decided that rather than having those things, he said that was unworkable due to restrictions and special effects, so he opted for the hedge maze instead. Which is a good choice, I would say.
So Kubrick was pretty infamous for treating people badly on this film in particular. It's been noted that he made both Shelley Duvall and Scatman Carruthers actually cry. He was so mean to them. However, there's an exception, and that was Danny Lloyd. He had actually a really good relationship with the boy. And in interviews with Lloyd, he said that Kubrick would play ball with him in between takes, and would send He sent Christmas cards to him years after the movie was ended. And on the night that he graduated high school, Kubrick actually called him up and said, "Hey, congratulations! I heard you graduated. I'm proud of you." So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Stanley Kubrick considered Robert De Niro and Robin Williams for the role of Jack Torrance, but decided against them. He didn't think De Niro would suit the role after watching his performance in Taxi Driver, as he thought De Niro was not psychotic enough for the role. And he didn't think Williams would suit the role after watching Mork and Mindy, as he deemed him too psychotic for the role. And according to Stephen King, Kubrick also briefly considered Harrison Ford. which I would have enjoyed, but I don't know if it would have been as good as Nicholson's performance.
So here's kind of a book movie hole filler, so to speak.
All right.
So Tony, the imaginary friend that lives in Danny's mouth, we don't ever really find out who or what Tony is in the movie. In the book, however, we find out that Tony is actually an adult version of Danny speaking to himself from the future.
Pretty cool.
Also in the book, Child Danny, views Tony as kind of a benevolent imaginary friend who is kind of like a Jiminy Cricket type character, as well as kind of a gateway to his shining ability, which seems fairly well portrayed.
Jack Nicholson claimed that the scene where Jack snaps at Wendy for interrupting his writing was the most difficult for him, as he was a writer himself and had gotten into similar arguments with his girlfriend. Being a method actor, he drew on his memories of those arguments and added the line, "Or, if you come in here and you don't hear me typing, if I'm in here, that means I'm working."
Well, this is the third movie in our series of Stephen King adaptations that we're reviewing. This is technically only the second movie that was released. You know that if you've been listening to the show, but Salem's Lot, which was his second work, which was brought to screen, was actually made for TV. It was not adapted for movies. Actually, I don't know if it's ever been shown as an actual movie in theaters. And so, while this is actually episode number 3 of their King's Journey series, this is technically his second movie.
You know what we forgot to do? We need to rank these.
Oh, yeah. We'll do the rank.
Is The Shining better than Carrie?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely
that was easy.
is better than Carrie.
That was also easy.
And I'm going to add, it's going to be tough for a movie to unseat this one.
Yeah, I have some ones in mind that will be close, but
maybe Shawshank or Green Mile.
Yeah. The Mist.
The Mist is good, but it's not this good. I'll even go so far, and I'll let you guys know a secret. The Mist is probably my favorite horror movie, period. It depends on if you count Jaws as a horror movie or not. And I think this is a better movie. I like The Mist better, personally, but I think this is a better movie.
Yeah. Well, we can duke it out in the number 2 and 3 spots. Alright, so The Shining is our number 1, Carrie is number 2, Salem's Lot is number 3 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any more Did You Knows?
I think I'm going to hold off there. This movie has tons and tons and tons of information out there. There's documentaries, full-length documentaries out there about this film. There's no limit to what you can find on the internet almost as far as information about it. So if you're interested, I would really recommend you just do some research on this one. We could sit here and read facts for another hour. And really, if you're interested, I would highly recommend you go check out some of that stuff, because you'll get a lot better information than us just kind of giving you some of the stuff that we've read and found interesting.
True. All All right. That is our episode for tonight. Join us in 1 week for the CinemaMen, and join us in 2 weeks, and we will review the 1990 action film Dick Tracy, starring Warren Beatty. We would love it if you would subscribe to the CinemaMen podcast and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Head over to cinemamenpodcast.com to check out new and old episodes. We always love to hear from listeners, so if you have a suggestion or want to give us your take on a movie, email us at feedback@cinemamenpodcast.com or check us out on Twitter at twitter.com/cinemamenpod. Oh, and we forgot our giveaway. What are we doing, Matt?
So, if you are interested in getting the Rocky Blu-ray set of all Rocky films, not the Creed movies, I should say this does not include the Creed films, but it's all of the core Rocky series. All you have to do is find us on Twitter, CinemaMen Pod on Twitter. I am about to make a tweet on that account that will pertain to this giveaway. Just follow us on Twitter and retweet that tweet. That's all you've got to do. We will choose a winner. We haven't really discussed the time frame on when we're going to do that, but we'll probably choose a winner after a set amount of time and notify you via Twitter direct messaging. So we'll collect your information and then ship this out to you free of charge as a way of saying thanks for listening and as a way to hopefully drum up some feedback and some interest. So if you're interested, just check our Twitter account. I'll have that up there this evening, or if you want, tomorrow morning, and you can check that out then. I will say we are doing a live recording right now, so that means that until this episode goes live, we won't finish the contest. So if you're listening to this in podcast form, it's going to be some weeks after we've actually recorded it and this live stream has happened. So I promise I'm not going to end the contest until at least a week or two has passed after this actual podcast episode is live. And all that information will be on the Twitter, so go over there, give us a follow, retweet that tweet, and just stay tuned over there, and we'll let you know everything you need to know.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right.
Saved.
So did I surprise you, huh?
Yeah. Surprising. In a good way.
I had to be honest, dude. Like, I got in there and I just freaking loved it.
The Shining. Yeah, it's a great movie.
It really is.
I don't think I have the ability to articulate just how much I liked it.
So
or how much I do like it.
I want to throw something at you here.
Okay.
It's 10 o'clock and it's mid-80s in your room. Do you want to continue and do the CinemaMen?
I'm already here.
Okay. If you're fine, I'm fine. But I'm sitting here in cool air conditioning, so it's easy for me.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
All right, let me finish all my exports, and then we can crank up that one. I'm gonna warn you ahead of time. I'm not very well researched on this one.
No, I've got 2 picks, and I'm just gonna talk about those 2 picks pretty much.
Okay. I kept wanting to do research on this, and I just never was able to find the time to really sit down and study it. I've got picks.
You know, yeah. I think you know in your heart who is the best.
What, Bruce Campbell?
No. I'm just saying, you have an idea who you think has a great range.
Mm. buried in a pet cemetery.
Don't wanna live my life again. For about a couple of weeks after that episode aired, I listened to that song, and it got stuck in my head. And it at work, it was bad.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I am doing my uploads now. Oh.
What?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Almost there. Almost there. Almost there. Upload it. Okay. Let me kill this audio track now that I've done all the saving. Actually, let me go file new and just start a new one. And I'm recording and check. Nothing is coming through. I'm glad I did this test. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Check 1. No. Why aren't you working? What's the problem here? I'm gonna do it this way.
Yeah. Back in my day, we recorded audio through a cam.
Check 1. Check 2. There we go. Now we're looking good. Okay, I am recording a second time on a new project. And I need to do this. I need to go boop, and boop, and boop, and I need to go boop, so that goes away. And I need to go to my newts. Here are my newts.
Need to go boop.
Pull up a few here. I actually have quite a few, but we don't have to discuss them in detail. All right. I guess I'm ready whenever you are.
All right.
Do we need to sync up again for this one?
Sure. Sync again.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Boop. All right.
Okay.
Am I running this again? I didn't even think about that. I guess I am, aren't I?
If you want to.
Doesn't matter. Do you want me to?
Oh, I'm good. Either way.
All right. You ready?
Yep.
Welcome, everybody, to another Cinema Mini. We are coming at you tonight with number 2, the second one we've ever done. And guess what, guys? You'll be happy to know we have no more structure than we did last time. So expect
Little.
a long rambling mess. Today, we're going to try to get a little bit closer to the point so that we have the time that we need. And so, today on this CinemaMen, we, as in myself, Matt Hurdle, and yourself, John Murphy, as
Hello.
well as your Mr. or Mrs. Audience listener,
Hmm?
we have a topic to discuss.
What is this topic?
This topic is actors and actresses, or if it's just actors now, I'm not sure. But men and women who act, who have the best or largest range within their acting. So, John Murphy, can you please tell me what we mean when we say range?
Range for acting. We're not talking about like an oven or something you cook on. This is
A prairie with
an
cows.
acting term. This is an acting term signifying that a actor can play many roles. They're varied in their roles. Like they don't just play a single kind of person. So that's basically range. When you think of this person, you can think of several roles where they're doing a lot of different things.
Yeah,
basically.
so somebody who has really good acting chops, not just in one genre, but really across a large spectrum of film, right?
Yep.
So that said, John and I have both gotten a few that we think are good candidates for this that we want to discuss. And so, John Murphy, I leave it to you, sir, to open us up with our first actor who has good range.
All right. So I narrowed mine down to two. I think you might have more, but I just wanted to talk about two particular individuals, and maybe a third, but only for the reason that I question their range in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'd be interesting to talk about it if we have time.
Okay.
But the first one is Gary Oldman.
Oh, okay.
Gary Oldman is a great movie star. He's a great actor. And the reason I picked him is because I can think of so many roles where he is almost unrecognizable, doing varied things. Dracula, the 1992 Dracula is one that comes to mind. He plays Dracula. And I didn't even know it was Gary Oldman the first time I saw him in that role.
He's definitely a morpher.
Yeah. I believe he's a method actor. Not 100% sure on that. But you got Dracula, and then let's pick a more popular one, The Dark Knight. He plays Jim Gordon.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner Gordon.
Two completely different roles. He plays Winston Churchill in The Darkest Hour. That was just a few years ago. Looks nothing like Gary Oldman.
That's,
completely different.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
But let's not forget Sirius Black in the Harry Potter series.
Exactly. But, I mean, he completely changes his mannerisms and his looks for a lot of his movies.
Zorg in The Fifth Element.
Yeah. Good reference. RoboCop. The Lost CinemaMen episode. He was played a doctor in that movie. That was a more you could tell it was Gary Oldman, but he was this nervous, intelligent, cautious doctor in that one. Yeah, just fantastic. He's had some animated or some voice acting stuff. He was in Kung Fu Panda 2.
Mm-hmm.
Book of Eli. I forgot he was in that. He was the bad guy in that one.
Yeah, I think that's a great choice. You're right. He's kind of all over the board, and he's also like you're saying, a lot of times you might see him in a film and not even realize that's him for a while. It takes some time, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. He's like, he's not the choice that you would think of because he's not necessarily a household name. But for my money, he has the best range of any actor that I can think of. So I definitely think he's a good pick. You want me to do my other one, or do you want to pick one?
Yeah, go ahead and do your other one. We'll just both do two, and then we'll look at our time.
All right. So the other one, again, is someone that maybe not everyone would think of, maybe. But I went with Robin Williams.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
He, again, he's one moment he's playing Mrs. Doubtfire in Mrs. Doubtfire, which is a complete transformation because he dresses up like a woman and has an English accent. And then he's in Good Will Hunting, a more dramatic role, completely different. 1 Hour Photo, he's kind of this crazy psychopath kind of character. And what was the one? RV. That was more of a... RV is actually a pretty funny movie, even though it's kind of down.
Kind of a side note with that movie. My wife and I, when we got married, we were flying back home from our honeymoon. And a big storm came in and grounded our plane. And so we were stuck in Miami. We were in the Miami airport overnight because of weather. And we got in the hotel and we were like, well, what are we going to do? And we looked, and RV was on their in the hotel by a movie service. And so we bought it and watched it. And I have to admit, I liked it more than I thought I would.
There's a scene with the where they're expelling the turds out of their RV. And I'm a sucker for a good poop joke, and it made me laugh a lot. Patch Adams, great, great comedic slash dramatic performance in Patch Adams. Flubber, I mean, it wasn't the greatest movie, but he was a completely different person in that one.
Hook,
Jumanji.
Yeah, he's definitely all over the place. You're right.
Yeah.
The genie, obviously.
Yeah, and he's not one you would necessarily think of, but he was always so energetic, and it seemed like he could pull off anything. Just give it to him, and he can do it. All right, what do you got?
So for me, the first one that instantly popped into my head, and one that I consider kind of the king of range, in my opinion, is none other than the very great Tom Hanks. You know, you look at some of his, almost all of his movies are big, but look at some of the movies he's done, right? Like you've got, if you want to take it back to the 80s, you've got Big, which was a great comedy that we probably ought to cover on the show one day.
For sure.
You've got, so you've got comedic roles. There's more than that, right? Like, was it Joe versus the Volcano, I think? Was he in that?
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite movies.
Yeah. So he's got lots of good comedy work. Okay, well, I don't want comedy. I like drama. I like dramatic films. Okay, well, we've got what? You got Castaway. You've got Captain Phillips. You've got, The Green Mile. Tons of films. You're like, well, okay, all right, those are fine, but I really like good old-fashioned action films. I want to see some solid, hard-hitting action. All right, well, let me show you Saving Private Ryan. Okay, you want more of a family film that's just a good, feel-good kind of movie that also makes you feel something inside of you? How about Forrest Gump? The guy can and has done just about anything out there except for horror. He was in The Burbs, which was kind of horror, but I've never seen him be a bad guy. Although I think he was a bad guy. What was that? It was like an underground dealing movie.
Underground dealing.
Yeah, like he was like he was a smuggler or something. He had like a hole in the ground or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Well, in any case, I think I remember a movie where he was actually a bad guy in it, but I can't for the life of me think of what that movie was. But anyway, you could also go, with Toy Story, because you got Woody's voice in Toy Story there.
Yeah, for sure.
To me, he's like the king of range. He could do anything. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
Saving
Turner.
Go ahead.
Turner and Hooch.
Mm-hmm. Da Vinci Code.
Ugh, I didn't really like those.
Philadelphia was a really good movie.
Mm-hmm. Joe versus the Volcano. That's another one. I'm gonna call it a Murphy VHS movie.
Mm.
That was one that I watched a bunch. I love it.
This is really gonna bother me, trying to figure out what the heck that movie was that I'm thinking of, but I just can't. I can't think of it. In any case, in the interest of time, I'm just gonna move forward. So he's my king, my obvious.
David Pumpkins.
Yeah, David S. Pumpkins. That's right. For my second pick, I wanted to make sure we got a lady in here, and I had to pick the queen of range, in my opinion, and that is none other than Charlize Theron. She can do anything. She's amazing, and she's another one of these chameleon type characters where she's almost unrecognizable from film to film in many cases. The classic one being Monster, where you watch that and you're just like, oh my gosh, that's really her. Like, that's hard to believe, and it's an incredible performance. You look at Mad Max. There's your action star.
Great.
Just incredible, right? And then, you want some comedy? Okay, well, we've got some comedy here. She was in Arrested Development. And she was hilarious in Arrested Development. I'm convinced she could do anything. Like, she's amazing, and she's one of those actresses where if you're like, Charlize Theron's in it, I'm like, okay, let's watch it. Just because she's in it, I want to see it. So,
Mad Max is great.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably the best Mad Max movie ever made.
Oh, okay.
Probably. I'd have to revisit the series. But I really liked Fury Road.
Yeah, it was very good. I think unquestionably it was very good.
She was in Prometheus.
Eon
that was the...
She was also in The Devil's Advocate.
Oh, yeah. That's a great movie, too. Prometheus was when she was the one that ran away from the falling cylinder. And she ran straight instead of to the left or to the right, and she got smashed.
She was in a... no, I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay.
She was in a romantic comedy. It may have been a romantic drama, I don't know, but that I really enjoyed, and that's kind of rare for me. I don't typically go in for those, but it was a movie. She starred opposite Keanu Reeves called Sweet November.
Sweet November.
Yep.
Yep.
It was a great movie.
It's a touching movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to watch that one again.
Yeah, I would too. So I've got one more that I want to bring up, and I feel like this one's going to be a surprise. I don't think you're going to expect this one.
Okay.
But I'm convinced that
Matt
this
Hurdle.
actor is really, really talented and has a lot of range. Even though I feel like when I mention him, a lot of people are going to think, oh, he's kind of typecast. I'm not convinced. I think this guy has chops.
All right.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
John C. Reilly. Now, he has kind of been stuck in comedy lately. And so I know that people see that and they're like, this guy, he's just a comedic actor. What do you mean he's got range? Well,
He's been in the, yeah.
he's been in more stuff than that, and I realized this when just recently, within the last couple of months, and I say we because John, you were there with me. We watched Chicago, and
Yep.
he plays the main, the husband of our main character in that movie, and his performance blew me away. He plays this kind of sad, dopey kind of guy who gets left behind a lot, and he's amazing. Like, he absolutely was amazing in that movie. And
Hello, cellophane.
he plays Dr. Watson in Holmes and Watson, which
Yeah.
but I think I really, really feel like there's a lot to this guy outside of just straight comedy. He's got the animated chops, right? He's got the Wreck-It Ralph thing going,
Yeah.
which those have done really well.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I would really. He's an actor that a lot of comedy, but I would really like to see him in more dramatic work because the stuff I've seen him do, just great, just absolutely great. I think maybe he just likes comedy, but dude,
He's been
good.
around for forever.
He was in Days of
like-
Thunder.
That's what I was about to
Yeah,
drop. Was Days of Thunder. Bucky Brotherton was his character's name.
he was
And-
not comedic in that one.
That was the first time I had ever seen him, and that was really like the third thing he'd ever done.
Yeah, just about. What's Eating Gilbert Grape? He was in that. Remember that movie? Old
Yep.
Leo DiCaprio special there.
Johnny Depp, Leo DiCaprio.
He was in The Thin Red Line too. I didn't know that.
I don't remember him in that.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of his, and I really do. I feel like he is one of the current generation of acting. I think he's one of the best talents in there, and I feel like right now he's stuck in this comedy loop, and maybe that's self done because he likes comedy, and maybe it's because Hollywood has kind of stereotyped him as a comedian right now. But
Mhm.
I'm telling you, this guy has got dramatic acting chops out the wazoo, and I think he could be one of the greats if given the right chance.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he already is one of the greats, but I think he could be great in any, pretty much any place you put him. I could see him working
Yeah.
really well in horror also.
Oh yeah, I think he could do anything. So the guy that I wanted to mention, are we good for on time?
I've not been watching our time.
Okay, then we're
We
good.
are we're at 20 minutes, so yeah, we've got another 10-15 minutes.
Okay, the guy that I want to mention, that gets a lot of praise for range. That he has a lot of range, but it's all within the same
hmm
umbrella. Is Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah, kind of that
Like-
quirky, odd side character kind of thing, or main man.
He can do anything, and he can change who he is. But it's
Mhm.
always a Tim Burton movie, and it's always weird. And if it's not a Tim Burton movie, it's Pirates of the Caribbean.
I mean, he's done
and-
a lot of other stuff too.
He has, like
you're
he-
right. He does have a lot of range.
He was in the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
hmm
He was in Edward Scissorhands, which was a Tim Burton movie.
Well,
He was in all the Pirates movies.
He and Tim Burton were like BFFs for a very long
Yeah,
time.
they're buddies.
But
Sweeney Todd,
Rango, I loved him. in
Rango. One of my favorite animated movies, Rango.
One of your big movies, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Yep. 21 Jump Street, the original.
Yeah, that's where I first ever saw him, was in that.
Yep.
He was in
Charlie
Finding
and the Chocolate
Neverland,
Factory.
which is kind of
Finding
a dramatic
Neverland.
movie that's not super weird.
Secret Window, that's a good one.
The Mariachi trilogy. Do you remember those movies?
Mm-hmm.
I think the last one was Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and he was in that, and he was like a scary dude in that.
Yeah. What's Eating Gilbert Grape? We just talked about.
Oh, he was amazing in that. He
Yep.
was the older brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great movie, by the way. If you've never seen that, you've got Leonardo DiCaprio in the lead, and his older brother is Johnny Depp. Seeing those two work together, that's a great movie. A little
Yeah.
sad, but it's great.
Fear and Loathing. I like him. I like Johnny Depp a lot, and I used to be a really big fan when he was doing stuff like Fear and Loathing and Sleepy Hollow and Astronaut's Wife. And I even like his Tim Burton stuff, and I like Pirates, I guess. But he just kind of started doing the same stuff lately, like all the Pirates movies, just the weird roles. And he did Lone Ranger, where he played Tonto, but he was sort of doing. He was doing sort of the Jack Sparrow thing there, and I don't know. I feel like there are other better suited people to be on the top list of range than him. But I went looking at lists, and he was on most people's lists.
No, I agree. I mean, we've seen him be funny. We've seen him be dramatic. We've seen him be all kinds of things. He's definitely got the ability.
He does have the ability. Yep.
What if I was to throw a question to you out of the blue, John, and say, who's somebody that doesn't seem like they have good range?
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner. He does kind of play the same character a lot. Tommy Lee Jones, same thing. He's an amazing actor, but he seems like he stays pretty firmly in his wheelhouse of the no-nonsense guy.
Yeah. Maybe Kevin Costner, but I just brought that one up because someone mentioned it when we reviewed Waterworld. I think he has more range than... Although he has barely more range than what I gave him credit for. Because he does play... He's usually doing the dramatic roles and stuff.
Here's one for you. You ready for this? Mike Myers.
That doesn't have range?
I mean, I feel like he's pretty much strictly comedy. I cannot imagine him doing anything dramatic.
Yeah. He was in that biopic for the Queen movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
he was...
It was a small role.
It was, and he was a little funny in it, even then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know that he'll ever break free of that. Which, I'm not saying there's anything bad with that. It's just that we're specifically discussing range. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being a master of comedy or a particular genre, right? It's just, we're talking about people with range. It doesn't mean that they're better actors, although maybe it does. I don't know enough about acting, but
no, I think we should qualify and say, just because you don't have range doesn't mean you're not a good actor.
Exactly.
Like Kevin Costner is one of the best actors alive. He doesn't
just not
do
as flexible.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything outside of dramatic roles, really. But that doesn't mean he's any less competent or skilled than Johnny Depp.
And how much of this discussion of range do you think is the actors themselves and their ability, versus how much do you think of it is because a typecast? Because you see that all the time.
Yeah,
you'll have an actor who gets a big breakout through a huge movie, and from that point on, you don't see them as anything but that.
I think that's a valid problem in the industry. I think these people that they have this wild success with one particular genre or character, and whenever they go to get more work, they are forced to play the same characters.
And I wonder if that's not what's happened to Johnny Depp after Pirates. Because Pirates exploded, and he was everywhere. And now I think he's stuck in that kind of wonky Captain Jack Sparrow kind of character.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was sort of his own fault. Like, when they did Curse of the Black Pearl, he was a side character. He was more of a side character to, what's his name? Orlando Bloom.
Ooh. Sorry, I know we've already passed this, but back on Johnny Depp while we're here. A movie he was phenomenal in that I guess he was still kind of that same role, but still, freaking Sleepy Hollow.
Oh yeah,
He was great in
yeah,
that.
he was good in that. I like that movie a lot. But he was so good in the first Pirates movie that they wrote him.
Of course, that was Tim Burton again.
They wrote him into a bigger part in the rest of the movies. Like he became more of the central character. So he was too good.
Hmm. Yeah, I wonder about that a lot, because it could be that a lot of these actors, all we see is what they're in. We don't get any glimpse into their actual ability outside of the movies that are given to us. And so it makes me wonder, maybe all of these actors, like maybe every actor out there that's professional on the big level has this range, but I mean obviously not. That's a stupid thing to say, but you know what I mean. A lot of characters that we feel like, maybe Mike Myers, right? He's been around for a long time. Maybe he does have acting chops in other genres, and we've just never seen them.
Yeah. I think he's one that actually would. But the Did You Knows that we do for the regular podcast, we're always talking about these casting choices that didn't happen. Like that's proof right there that some people just get overlooked, or they're double booked, or the director doesn't like them, or stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting, something to think about. All right, so that's gonna about wrap us up for tonight. We are, as we've said before, trying to very strictly keep these on a time so that they're not very long. We want them to be quick listens to just help tide you over in between our main review podcasts, which are on the weeks that these don't release. This gives us a little snack size show to release, and also keeps us releasing something every week instead of having to do something every 2 weeks, which is not something either one of us really like, but is something that we're kind of stuck with in terms of the time, because podcasting's not exactly paying the bills. We do have to have our regular jobs. So thank you very much for listening. We really appreciate it. If you're listening for the first time, we're the CinemaMen podcast. We release our episodes on Fridays. If it's not a CinemaMen that's releasing on a Friday, then it will be a Cinema Mini or a Cinemini that releases. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on email. And I'm going to let John give the deets on that, because he's the guy with the deets.
Yeah. Feedback at cinemamenpodcast.com is our email address. Send us your thoughts. We would love to hear what you think is your list for the actors with the most range, or the actors with the least range. And twitter.com/CinemaMenPod is our Twitter handle. But just search for the CinemaMen podcast, and you'll find us at Twitter, YouTube. Where else? I think that's it.
Yeah, Twitter and YouTube.
Yep. So.
One last thing I want to mention before we close this podcast, and that is we are doing a giveaway. We have a full set. It's the 40th anniversary edition of Sylvester Stallone's Rocky movies on Blu-ray. This set contains Rocky 1 through Rocky Balboa. It doesn't have the Creed movies, but it does have all the Rocky movies on Blu-ray. We're looking to give this away absolutely free to one lucky listener who happens to enter. To get your name in to potentially win this Blu-ray set, all you have to do is find us on Twitter, follow our account, and then there will be a pinned tweet at the top regarding this giveaway. Just retweet that for us. Do that, and whenever we give this movie away, one person who has done that will receive this. We'll pay for shipping and everything. We'll just have to contact you through Twitter to get your delivery information. So, looking forward to that. Can't wait to give that away. And I want to say thanks again for listening. We will see you all next week.
See ya.
All right. That one should be pretty short, I think.
Cool. Yep, I think these will evolve just like the regular podcast.
Yeah, I hope so.
We'll get more comfortable and we'll figure out our flow and everything.
I don't feel like they're going too bad, but they are
No.
pretty much completely improvised.
Oh yeah,
All right.
no doubt.
Everybody on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Whether you're watching this live now, I see you over there. Hello. Or you're watching this on a VOD after it's been live. I see you over there. Hello. We appreciate you being here. We're going to go ahead and end this particular stream now. So thanks again. Thanks for being with us. You'll find us here every other Tuesday doing these recordings. So the next one will be in June, on June the 8th. So come around the channel around June 8th, about 8:30 Central Time. That's usually when we get started, somewhere between 8 and 8:30. And we'll be here waiting for you. Our next movie that we're going to be doing, which we didn't do in the podcast, did we? Did
Yes.
we mention that in the podcast? All right.
Yes.
Well, our next movie, if you weren't paying attention during the podcast, is Dick Tracy. So that ought to be a fun one. I haven't seen this in a really long time, and I'm looking forward to giving it a watch. So we'll see you then for a review of Dick Tracy and another CinemaMen to follow. So
Oh
thanks
yeah.
thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.